Welcome back to the channel. We are in the kitchen today talking about mulberries. Now, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I'm Karyn. My husband Dan and I are trying to become as self-sufficient as possible. So if this is a topic that interests you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like and comment on our video. It really helps us with the YouTube algorithm. Let's talk about mulberry trees. A lot of times people consider mulberry trees invasive, and they are, because they literally pop up just about anywhere, and if you're not on it and you don't get it taken out, it will take hold pretty quickly and grow. On our property we have about a dozen or more mulberry trees, but we have a couple that are our favorites because they don't all taste the same. Now, when we talk about ways you can be more self-sufficient, one of the things that you need to consider, and I've been talking about it in a few of my recent videos, what do you already have that you're not using and could be using? One of those things for us is mulberries. So I'm going to make a mulberry jelly today. There's a couple of reasons why we're making this into a jelly. If you look at a mulberry, they're pretty small and they're kind of fragile, and they have this little stem on them. Now the stem is soft and it's edible, but if you were going to make a jam, you would want to remove all of those stems because you wouldn't want that in your jam. Also, a mulberry has lots of little tiny seeds. So if you're looking to have something that's seedless, probably a jam is not going to be your best bet for mulberries. So we're going to make a jelly today, because then it doesn't matter if it has the stem, and it doesn't matter if it has seeds, because those will be removed. So you saw us getting the mulberries off the tree at the beginning of this video, and I have removed all of the extra stuff out of the mulberries, the sticks, the leaves. I've rinsed them, and then I've also removed any white mulberries that aren't ripe, but you want some of those that are mostly red, because a ripe mulberry generally is very, very sweet, very sugary, and the less ripe berries will actually help give it more of a body, more of a tartness to the jelly. So you do want maybe about a fourth of your berries to be those berries that are a little less ripe, but you don't want the white berries in there. And an interesting fact that I read about white mulberries is that if you were to eat a quantity, like a large quantity of white mulberries, you actually might have some hallucinations. So we have picked all of the white ones out of our mulberries. We have a nice heavy bottom stainless steel pan here, and inside we have about 9 to 10 cups of mulberries. And what we're going to do is we're going to mash these up and we're going to cook them down. We want our end product to have 3.5 to 4 cups of mulberry juice. And I'm just using just an old potato masher to mash up these berries. And if I see any stray pieces of sticks or anything in there, these berries are so dark, it is hard to see every little bit that should be taken out. What you also want to know is that mulberries, like a lot of berries, will stain things, including your hands. So if you see my hands here and they look like they have dirt around them, that's not dirt, that's mulberry stains. Okay, we've got it fairly mashed up now. We're going to heat this up slowly on a low heat, and when we see more of the juice releasing, we're going to simmer it, we're going to cover it up, and we're going to simmer it for 10 minutes. Okay, so on goes the lid. take a look at the juice that was released from our berries. And we are going to strain this and squeeze those berries too to get the most juice possible. To do that, I'm trying out this jelly bag. We're going to ladle the fruit inside here. It's a very fine mesh, so it should give us a good clear juice to work with into our bowl. And it just hooks right onto the bowl. Now, if you don't have one of these, you could obviously use a colander and a couple of layers of cheesecloth too. So that would also work to strain your fruit. And this fruit is really hot, so I do expect the bag to stretch down quite a bit. And when it's cooled down a little bit, then and it's stopped sort of dripping a lot like that, we'll go ahead and squeeze that bag. And maybe this time I'll put on some gloves. Okay, so now we're just gonna let this sit, and we're just gonna let it keep draining and cooling off, and then we'll come back, squeeze that bag, get as much juice as we can, and then we'll measure it out. So now in our clean stainless steel pot, we have 3.5 cups of mulberry juice. At this point, remember I told you mulberries are very, very sugary, and that's almost all you can taste sometimes when you eat a mulberry. So we are going to ensure some tang with some lemon juice. I'm going to go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of lemon juice to our pot. So this next part is going to go very quickly when you're making jam or jelly, and we're going to talk about, this is where you're going to add the pectin. Now once you add the pectin, you want to get it to a hard boil very quickly. So you want to heat it over high heat, stirring constantly, get it to a hard boil, and then immediately add all of the sugar all at once. And we'll be adding 5 cups of sugar. Then at that point, we're going to bring it to a hard boil again for 1 minute only. You have to get it up to a high heat to boiling quickly, because if you don't, you will destroy the pectin, and then you'll end up with syrup instead of jelly. And that is another reason why jelly and jams are done in a small batch. I had plenty of mulberries that I could have easily doubled this batch, but it would have taken so long for it to heat up and get to that rolling boil that the pectin would be in danger of being destroyed. So always when you have a jelly or jam recipe, make sure you follow it and don't double it. So now we're just adding 1 box of Sure Gel to our juice here, our juice and our lemon juice. And we're going to stir that in, and we're going to bring it over here to the stove. Whenever you do jam or jelly, you want to make sure that you have everything prepped before you go to this fast process. So I do have my 5 cups of sugar all measured out and ready to go. You can add 1/4 teaspoon of butter, just a little tiny 1/4 teaspoon of butter, and that will help it not to get real foamy. And there we are at a hard boil. So now all of the sugar goes in. We're going to bring that back to a hard boil again for exactly 1 minute to get all that sugar dissolved in there, and then we're going to immediately remove it from the heat. Okay, so as I said before, we want to make sure that we have everything ready to go, because now we need to get this into our jars. We're going to turn up our canning pot all the way, even though it's already ready to go. And we're going to fill this up to 1/4 of an inch headspace. And I am using an older towel. Well, it's not an old towel, but it's a towel that already has stains on it, in case I should have a little issue. It is a beautiful, beautiful dark red purple. Now I gotta tell you, my favorite thing just happened. And that is that we don't quite have enough to make another full jar. So guess where this one's going? It's going in the fridge. So we can eat this one right away. Okay, so now we're going to clean up our jars a little bit. Make sure we wipe the rim so that there's nothing on there that will cause a failure in a seal. We're going to add our clean seals, and we are tightening these to finger tight. Then these go right into the canner. Make sure you have your canner all ready to go. So 6 beautiful jars of mulberry jelly. So now we are water bath canning this jelly for 15 minutes. You need a water bath, of course, according to your altitude above sea level, and for us here, that's 15 minutes. And I think I'm just going to end this video with taking the finished mulberry jelly out of the canner. And I hope you guys are having a great day. Please, if you have not subscribed and anything to do with self-sufficient living is of interest to you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and like and comment on our video. It does help us with YouTube. See you next time.